To say times are tough at Lyon right now would be an understatement. Due to their financial situation, last week they were told if they don't make a bunch of money by the end of this year, they're going to be automatically relegated into the second tier of French football, no matter where they finish in Ligue. It also looks like they're going to have to sell the majority of their squad and a total rebuild is going to be needed. So today I'm going to step in as Lyon manager and try and take the club back to glory. That's right, today I'm taking on the Lyon rebuild challenge with the club in the second tier. As you can see, I've placed Lyon into the second division of French football and put the club in a situation where we have both a negative transfer balance and also some major debt at the club that we need to work off. And if things weren't already hard enough, I'll be offering out every player in our squad for transfer. And because of the financial situation we're in, I'm sure clubs will try and take advantage and give us low fees for our players, which isn't going to help us. And as it looks like Lyon might get a transfer embargo also, for the first year in Ligue 2, I will not be signing any players, nor could I, with a £0 transfer budget and £0 of wage budget. Oh, and did I mention if we sell a player, the club are only going to give us 10% back into the actual budget to spend. So even though it might be pretty easy to get back out of Ligue 2 and into Ligue 1, this is not going to be an easy job overall because I want to try and take this club right to the very top, and in this situation it's going to be very tough, so we might have to rely on youth. Because I'll likely be moving on high earners like Lacazette, Corentin Tolisso and Dejan Lovren, and instead I'll be looking for potential like this right back called Kumbedi who could go right to the top, and I'll be looking to develop academy players like goalkeeper Justin Benguijao and 21-year-old French midfielder Florent Sanchez. Now with the squad we've got, we are still predicted to absolutely smash Ligue 2, so there should really be no issue in us getting promoted, but that is with the team we've currently got, and like I say, if we want to work off this debt and keep the club financially stable, I'm going to have to sell a big portion of this squad. A few disclaimers before I start though, because I have had to kind of cobble this save together out of a few mods that I found online. The first thing is it does say 2023 in the top right corner. That's because you can't change the date in your save, but don't worry, the squad I'm using in-game is a squad that Lyon have in real life from the 2024 season. And there was also an issue in the fact that I still do have Wilfried Zaha, despite the fact that next season, if Lyon did get relegated, his loan from Galatasaray would be up. But if you can forgive that, then this should be a very fun ride. Rebuilding Lyon from the ground up in Ligue 2, focusing on youth and selling off all the high earners. I think it's going to be good fun, but let's get started with some transfers to try and give us the best chance possible. Now, as mentioned before, I am under a transfer embargo for this first season, so in terms of incomings, there was no business that I could do, but I did sell on plenty of players to try and drop our wage bill down, and a lot of them wanted out anyway, with the club being in the second tier. And as predicted, clubs were offering us minimal fees for players that are probably worth far more than we got because of our financial situation. People are exploiting us, but we kind of had to take the deal. So for example, one player leaving was our goalkeeper, Anthony Lopez, who has been here for years, but is now left to play for Benfica for 1.5 million, rising to 1.9, a small fee for a stalwart of a club. And as per the rules of this save in season 1, I had to let anybody go that we got an offer for, and Dejan Lovren was one that thankfully I did want to get rid of. He was hogging the wage bill, he was 35, so we sold him on for a minuscule fee to Fiorentina. The story continued with Tagliafico also leaving the club. The Argentinian left back has also joined Benfica for £2.1 million, rising to 2.6. We couldn't find a new permanent home for Tolisso, who is one of our highest earners, but thankfully we have got him out on loan to Valencia for the season. Maitland-Niles, the former Arsenal player, has also gone to the Portuguese leagues. He will be playing for Porto though, having left the club for £3 million. Belgian side Ghent came in for our young winger Malik Fofana, who they've taken on loan with an option to buy at the end of the season, and I'm kind of hoping we don't actually lose him. I couldn't get Matic out the door permanently, but kind of like Tolisso, I've managed to get him away on a loan. He's gone to Red Star Belgrade in Serbia. There is an option to buy there too, which I'm hoping they'll take. It was a similar story for Tanner Tessman. The American has gone on loan to Philadelphia in the US. Alexander Lacazette has left to go and join Brentford in the Premier League. This is one I was happy to get through. He was on a mega wage, so to sell him for 2.4 million, I don't think is the end of the world. And goalkeeper Lucas Perry, who is probably going to be the successor to Anthony Lopez, has also left the club. He's gone back to Brazil for £3.4 million, rising to 4.4, but he he is worth far more than that. And it looked like for a while I might be able to hang on to Ryan Cherky, our young prodigy. No one was coming in for him, but suddenly in came Strasbourg. They've offered him a loan deal for the season, so if we get promoted, maybe we can have him back. Now, considering the players we sold, in total that didn't really make the club too much money, but long term it should help out because we freed up nearly £500,000 a week off of the wage bill. And for now, this is what is considered our best 11 going into our Ligue 2 season. Now, this team is still full of some very good players, but I'm still going to have to try and clear the debt at the club, so the majority of these will not last very long, I'm sure. But currently, our best goalkeeper is Deschamps, who is a 28-year-old Frenchman. At right back, we've got Clinton Mata. Again, we offered all of these players out, but didn't get bids for all. Duje Kaleta Sarr is still at the club as well, and is actually a really good player for this level, as is former Nottingham Forest player Moussa Niakate. Abner Vinicius is a very good left-back option, aged 24. Then our midfield features Kakare, who is a 24-year-old midfielder, came through the academy here at Lyon, who I'm hoping will be a big part of this rebuild if we can hang on to him. Next to him is Paul Akuwoko, the Ivorian 26-year-old. Then we've got Ernest Nwama, the young Ghanaian forward, aged 20. Next to him is Algerian Ben Rama, Wilfried Zaha, and then the Georgian striker Mikadadze. 23 years old, should be more than good enough for this level, but again, if we get any offers for these players during the course of the season or next year, we're going to try and let them go. But I don't want to rely on those players for a while, so instead this season we're going to focus on prioritising youth, like Bengui Zhao, who's going to try and start pretty much every game in goal. Kumbedi is going to be our first choice right back, and outside of the first 11 I just showed you, most of the options on the bench or the reserves are young players from the academy, so we're going to give them all an opportunity to shine, and hopefully they can help us out not just this season but in the future too. And for those wondering what all of those sales did for our business, well, we have managed to get the overall balance down to only negative £1 million in the transfer budget, but the debts and loans, there's still over £400 million to sort out. So a successful rebuild here won't just be on the pitch, it'll be behind the scenes too. I want to get to a point in 5 seasons where we're competing for the title in Ligue 1 whilst also having the majority of that debt cleared and a new fresh squad to compete with the future. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The first step is getting promoted from Ligue 2. So we went in this season with one aim, to win the title. We had 90-1 odds of winning the title no matter all the players that we sold, so it looked like it should be an easy job, but it didn't prove that way. At least not at first, because in our home game against FC Metz, our first match of the season, we dropped a 2-0 lead to eventually draw the game 2-2. The game after that was away to SM Sien, and we went from being 3-0 up to a 3-3 draw. So we started the season with 2 draws, but before we knew it, it was 3 draws in a row as we drew to Clermont. So what looked like it should be a pretty easy season was suddenly looking a lot harder, but obviously we made a lot of sales, our new young players needed time to gel, but thankfully over time, we started to pick up the levels. An away win against Bordeaux was massive in our title charge, as was beating title rivals FC Lorient 5-1 at home. And in the end, after a tricky start, we did the business. We ended up finishing top of the league on 93 points. To be honest with you, quite close to only finishing second, where 90-point Lorient finished just below us. Outside of that though, we were always going to be the 2 teams getting promoted. We absolutely smashed it this year, but this is by no means this rebuild done and dusted. It's not all going to go swimmingly from here, because once again, we'll be trying to sell pretty much every player in this squad. And I'm hoping there'll be interest in some of these players, because there was some phenomenal seasons all around. Nwama was excellent with 17 goals. Ben Rama has definitely put himself in the shop window. Kakare was great. Zaha will be leaving us at the end of this year. Florent Sanchez, the youngster, managed to bag 8 goals across the course of the season. 21 goals from our Georgian forward too, and then Kumbedi, who we asked to play most of the games, has developed very nicely into a top right back already, only aged 20. And then Justin Bengui Zhao in goal. Might not be quite Ligue 1 level just yet, but he's the best we got, and he'll be starting in the net next season. And next year will mean our transfer embargo is lifted, so I will be able to sign players for the club should I want to. And whilst it isn't an amazing transfer budget, there is enough in the wage budget that we might be able to work this round to buy some players. But of course, financially, I want to sort out this debt, and whilst lowering that wage bill has helped us this year, there is still a long way to go. So this job is by no means done. I think it's going to be another quiet window in terms of incomings, and likely plenty of sales, but we're going to keep pushing and take this Lyon side right to the top. And in season 2, we have had some major movement yet again. Lots of our key players, lots of our big earners leaving the club. And in terms of incomings, we've had to be pretty good in the transfer market. But before I show you that, if you could smash the like button on the video, it would massively, massively help me out. And subscribe as well if you haven't already, as we close in on 50k subs. That's the next target. It's been my target for a long, long time. So any support to get there would be amazing. Every like, every interaction really does help the video in terms of pushing the content out. So thank you to anybody who does that. But with that being said, let's go check out all the players that we sold on this year. One of our main starters from last season, Paul Acuoco, has left the club to go and join Elche out in Spain. He played 27 times last season and leaves for 950,000. Again, we could probably have got more money in another save, but everyone knows how much we're struggling and they are sending low offers that we're kind of forced to accept at this stage. Nemanja Matic has also moved on permanently. He's gone to sign for Alveda, so that is great to get his wages off the books. He leaves for 1.2 million. Our top goal scorer from last season has also moved on. He's got himself a move to Italian side Bologna. It's Georges Mikadadze, who leaves for 2.7 million. Obviously had a really good first year for us, but now he's heading off to Serie A. Again, we could have got much more in another save, but right now, this is the best we can do. Aurel Mangala came back off of his loan at Everton, and again, just kind of took up the wage bill a little bit. Wasn't a player I wanted to hang on to and had interest from elsewhere. I am trying to still sell most of these players actively, so he has moved on to Anderlecht for 3.8 million, rising to 4.7. But the biggest fee we got was Said Benrahma, who has left to join Fulham, and this is the first time I think we've got a fair deal, I would say. He had a really good year for his last time, and we've managed to move him on for 8 million, rising to 9.5. It's not crazy, but for a 30-year-old that we could afford to let go, I had to take that offer. So with all those sales, that freed up the wage bill and allowed us to bring in a few incomings that I think could really help us out. But if you want to have a go at this rebuild yourself and do a better job than me, then you can check it out over on my Patreon, where I upload the rebuild files for every rebuild we do, alongside plenty of other exclusive perks like giveaways, early access videos, and polls to decide which rebuild we do every single week. So if you want to support me as a creator, that's the best place to do so. It really does go a long way. So thank you to all my Patreons and to anybody who goes and checks it out. But let's check out the transfers coming in, where I had to focus mainly on the free transfer market, and this is a player that I think could be a very good addition to our team. His name is Morlai Silla. He's a 27-year-old international who plays for Guinea. He's been playing with Aruca in Portugal and doing pretty well. Our scouts recommended him, so in he comes. He's got a pretty high valuation as well for a free player, so the general idea will be bring these guys in for free and then sell them on as soon as we can for profit. And it was a similar story for Sebastian Esposito, an Italian 23-year-old free agent who we've picked up on a small contract, who offers us a lot already. If he doesn't end up turning into anything, I think we'll make some money there. He is formerly of Empoli, Inter Milan, Basel, Venezia, Anderlecht. He's been everywhere, so hopefully he'll settle in here at Lyon. But the only permanent signing I've got coming in is actually loaned out for this year, Severe Housef Naipan. When our scouts recommended him and I had about £3 million left in the budget, I thought, you know what, this makes perfect sense. We sign him now and hopefully can either bring him in a few years when things are better or sell him on for a profit. So this year he goes to Rosenborg on loan. He cost us 4 million, which was the majority of our budget. He goes back to the club he was at, hopefully develops a little bit, and then comes to us as a very good player for Ligue 1. I don't like to always sign the same players, but needs a must in this save. He was available, I had to get him. Now I haven't entirely used our budget. I'm trying to be responsible and leave some of the wage budget available still. Hopefully that will mean the club's finances aren't drained as much, and if we can achieve European football soon, that will help also to start counteracting the negative balance the club has. Because heading into season 2, we have got a net debt of 345 million. For that reason, we're still making pretty much no money ourselves when we sell a player. It's all going to paying off this debt to try and get the club back to a level where we can compete again. And this is what is now considered our best 11 in season 2. We've got 2 youngsters in goal and at right back. Then we've got Kaleta Sarr, Niakate and Abner Vinicius still here in the defence. Kakare is now alongside Tanner Tessman, who does actually play for us this season. He's on low wages, so I thought he'd be a good player to have around. Then it's Nuama. Silla now enters the best 11 alongside Cherki, who comes back after his loan at Strasbourg, and Amin Sarr, a Swedish forward who is out on loan last year at Verona, but now comes back to us as our best striker supposedly. But we'll be hoping to give minutes this year to the likes of Gift Orban, the 23-year-old, who again has been offered out as all of these players have, but these are the guys that no one seems to want. Lazari is a young left back that could potentially break into the team. Malik Fofana's another one that we're hoping could break in, and plenty of other youngsters that we promoted into this first team now to try and get some football under their belts. But despite all of our issues, lose all of our sales and the squad that we're left with, we are still predicted a 6th place finish. It's still massive odds to try and win the title. That's not going to happen anytime soon, but we're considered as good as Lens and as Lille by the game, but whether that turns out to be the case, we can only find out now in our first year back in Ligue 1 in Season 2. And I think Season 2 has proved this rebuild won't be easy. I'm trying to compete with some of the best clubs in France, all whilst basically being able to bring in no one and selling our best players. It really is going to be tough, and this year proved it. Because despite our high place prediction, we lost pretty early on to Strasbourg, we were dismantled at home by Marseille, and we took a battering from Rennes also. In October, we picked up 2 points. In December, we picked up 1 point. It really wasn't going well. There were some wins here and there, but being predicted a European finish, I think might have been a little bit too high, because we ended up finishing in 8th place. 49 points, not too bad, not too far away from Europe either, but 0 goal difference, 13 losses, 7 draws, and 14 wins. And if you look at the wins we got, pretty much all of them are home wins, only 2 away wins all season. It was a real struggle of a year. It was made easier by the likes of Amin Sarr playing well and scoring 15 goals. But if we thought we were just going to shoot up into the Champions League, get loads of money in from the UCL and then compete with PSG, it's not going to be like that. In fact, only a few players had good seasons for us at all. Nuama was okay with 10 goals and Amin Sarr did well with 16, but everyone else finished below a 7 average match rating. No real top performers. Kumbedi found it a little bit harder in Ligue 1, but has developed into a very strong option at right back. And our goalkeeper, Bengui Zhao, is actually coming along very well too, now aged 20. But considering the board had really high expectations of us also, we really are fighting a losing battle due to this financial situation. And despite being a Ligue 1 club for a whole season now, next year we've been given 600 grand of transfer budget. Yes, there's still money in the wage budget, but again, I don't want to completely spend all that money that we've only just freed up to help the club, because that way we'd end up in the same situation again. Financially, we're in a negative transfer balance currently, and also when it comes to the debts and loans, we've wiped off about £10 million this season. There is still over £300 million worth of net debt to get rid of. So look, it's not going to be a busy window in Season 3 unless we can sell some players. And despite the limited budgets that we did have and the fact we're still needing to sell a lot of our talent, I actually think this window could be considered a pretty big success. Firstly, we've loaned out Sebastian Esposito to Empoli in Italy for a bit more development because he didn't play last year, so if he does well here, hopefully we can find him a permanent home and make some cash. Speaking of making cash, the guy that was originally considered our best goalkeeper who's fell below the pecking order, Remy Descamps, has left to sign for Sassuolo for 200k. Jefinho, a Brazilian 26-year-old who's been on loan for a couple of seasons in Brazil, came back for half a year, didn't do much, has now been sold on. He's gone to Santos for £1 million. Tanner Tessman had a decent enough season last time, but he's attracted interest from a Premier League side in Everton. Age 24, he's now moved on for £4 million. Again, someone that was real key for us, played 31 times, but we have to take money where it's offered. And the first real sign that our plan here at Lyon is working is this transfer. Morlai Silla has left after 1 year to join Sporting Club de Portugal for £10 million. We signed him for free. He played 30 games, 27 as a starter, did half decent, and now we made 10 million on him to start lowering that debt. But I also can't not improve a team at all, else we'll just stagnate and fall back. Every time we lose a player, we get worse, so I need to be adding quality at the same time, so it's a long going process. But coming in first this year for free was Mohamed Ali Ben Ramdan, who I think is a brilliant signing, a Tunisian 26-year-old box-to-box midfielder. We signed him from Hungarian side Ferencváros on a free. He's been really good over there. His wages aren't crazy either for the player we're getting, so this feels like a sustainable signing. Dominik Bradaric has came in to be an option in our defence. The Croatian 26-year-old looked like a good deal on a free contract, 35 grand a week for a player in his prime who's been playing in Serie A for a couple of years now and doing pretty well. Axel Tuanzebe was then signed from Ipswich, again a very good player to pick up on a free. The Congolese international, formerly of Manchester United, has signed for no fee at all and offers us some good cover in those defensive areas. But for our final signing, I spent real money. It was a pretty big one actually for the level that we're currently at financially, but I thought it made sense at the time. We have signed a new star man. This is Mattis Lambord, who is playing for Hellas Verona in Italy in Serie B. We've signed him for 7.5 million, rising to 8.5, taking a gamble on his potential, but right now he is already very good. I see him though as a potential striker down the line. If things can work out, he could be our Mbappe of our Lyon team, the main guy scoring all the goals and taking us to French glory. But in season 3, I think this is the first time we can see a real shift in our best 11 here at Lyon, where a lot of the players are young players on fairly low contracts for the ability that they've got. Benguin Zhao is our goalkeeper. He's only on 13 grand a week and could get a lot better. There's Kumbedi at the back, still with the same defense alongside them, but Kakare and Naipan is a new midfield. Obviously Naipan signed last season, now comes in as a regular starter for us. 11 grand a week he's on. Nuama, Cherki, Malik Fofana and Lambord are considered our best forward line. All young, all with plenty of ceiling to keep getting better than they are now. There's some good players on the bench also, and for the first time I actually feel confident this team could compete in Ligue 1, maybe not for the title, but for Europe. The game seems to think so also, because we're now considered a 4th place predicted team, 25-1 odds of winning the title, and if you have a look, the board are expecting us to qualify for European football this season. If we can do that, that will definitely help us financially. And just to keep you posted, after the competition money came in for Ligue 1 this year, our net debt has dropped to 306 million, so we're still in the 300 millions, but if we can just get a European finish this year, if our players can perform well enough, that could be the changing of the tides here at Lyon. And in season 3, this new look young attack that we put together seemed to just start to click. New signing Lambord paid off the gamble in game 1, scoring 2, whilst Nuama was also chipping in with goals alongside Malik Fofana. And in game 2, up against Le Havre, Lambord didn't just score 2, he scored 3. And that man was crucial again in our best win of the season, beating Monaco away 4-2. So as you can already tell by the games we showed there, we had a much better year this season, but we went much further than I would have expected, because we finished in 2nd place in Ligue 1 in only our 3rd year as manager. Now granted, we are miles, and I mean miles away from PSG, and if we drop one more point this season, we could have found ourselves in 4th, Marseille and Monaco only 1 point behind us, but our goal difference was much better than last year. We only lost 6, we drew 8, we won 20 games this season, and as you can see, Lambord was exceptional, 15 assists and 24 goals in the league alone in his first season at the club. Cherki was doing well also, but we have a star on our hands. So our experiment with him up front definitely worked, but it also seems to allow our other players to get better as well. I mean, Ryan Cherki was great this year, as was Amin Sarr. Ben Ramdan had a brilliant first year at the club. Nuama hit 8 goals. Kumbedi continued his development at right back into what I consider now one of the best right backs in the league, and potentially maybe even the world if we want to go that far. I would actually say now, after all the development we've given him, Benguin Zhao is a player that would be considered a good Ligue 1 level goalkeeper. He has developed really well, and there's plenty of other young players being given the chance also that I'll introduce you to next season. Now Europe does not mean a big budget for us though, because the club has now lowered the available wage bill and given us less transfer budget than before, so it's not like we'll be making any major moves now that we finished 2nd, remember, 2nd in Ligue 1. They're giving us nothing, but financially it is getting better. If we have a look at the debts and loans, it's gone down to 266 million, plus this year we'll get some Ligue 1 money and some Champions League money still to keep knocking that debt down. So hopefully before we know it, that debt will be nearly cleared, but I'm still going to try and make some transfers if I can. And in Season 4, I think this is our best transfer window yet. The fact we're now recognised as a Champions League club and in less debt than before meant that we've actually got some fair sales going on at the club, because a lot of big players have left, but going for some decent fees. Firstly, we have sold on a 24-year-old midfielder, Johan Lepenant, who is a player that I was hoping to give more game time to, but he hasn't really developed over the last couple of years. We've moved him on to Toulouse for 850k. Andrielson, who is one of our many choices at centre-back, has left the club with not many many performances under his belt last year, he has moved to 1.4 million to sign for Botafogo. But the departures continued. Moussa Niakate also left the club age 31 to join Al Fayha for 6.5 million, rising to 8.75. And for every single season so far, I've tried to sell Tolisso, but no one ever came in for him. But thankfully, he has now left the club. He's retiring soon as well. The man was one of our highest paid players. In fact, I think he was the highest after Lacazette. So to have him gone finally is a relief on the wage bill. Bradaric has also left the club after one season. The Croatian signed for his last season on a free and now leaves for 8 million to Saudi Arabia. Another sign of our transfer dealings working. Duje Kaletakar has also left the club. He's gone to sign for Al Weda out in Saudi. 10.75 million was the fee for him, rising to 13 for a player that was good, but age 30, that kind of money, I've got to do the deal. And Sebastian Esposito is another example of our transfer policy working. Signed on a free, income Al Weda after a season out at Empoli. They offer us 15 million quid, and I said yes, thank you. But now we get onto the fun bit, some incomings, all of which are free, all of which are great players, and then I've got some youngsters to show you that are really looking good from our academy. Firstly, Callum Doyle, the former Manchester City man and an England international in this world, has signed for us on a free. He was let go at the end of his contract, played 4 games in 2 years for City. No idea how he got those England call-ups, but we're not complaining. He's on 21 grand a week. For 20 grand a week, we've got his partner at the back, Jarrell Quansah of Liverpool. Again, didn't really get much opportunity, went out on loan to Norwich, did well, left on a free, income our scouts, get this player, we bring him in and get ourselves a bargain. Milan Vanuik is in for £23,000. He is going to be a right-back option to deputise for Kumbedi to try and take the weight off of him a little bit. He's a Dutch 26-year-old who's been playing for Coventry in the Championship and doing really well, and I think he's a bargain on a free. And then there's Mikael Damsgaard, the Danish international, 27 years of age, in his prime, who gives us some attacking options, signing from Brentford for absolutely nothing. Now, all of those 4 players I just showed you, combined, their contracts are worth less than what Tolisso was getting pretty much, so that tells you just how good we're doing with these transfer dealings. But let me quickly show you some of the young players that our academy has produced in recent years that could go right to the very top. The first one is Mario Petitjean, who is a 17-year-old Frenchman under 21 international. A Portuguese national out of our academy, 17-year-old Paulo Sociedade, has gone on loan to Aruca for the year. And then there's goalkeeper Roussel Dayang, who is 17 years of age and has already spent a season out on loan at Metz and then a season at Troyes, where he's been playing first-team football in Ligue 1, even if sparingly, at such a young age. So our academy has really produced a top player here. There's also defender Paul Hauser, who's going to be playing a little bit this year, I'm sure. Attacking midfielder Matondo, and that's all whilst having the likes of Lambord with potential at the club, Naipan, Malik Fofana, Kumbedi, Doyle, Cherki. We have got a very young team here, all of which have huge potential, and as you can see, the wage bill isn't looking anywhere near as bad as it once did. In fact, for the first time, financially, there is money in the overall balance. There's also still money in the transfer pots. If we go to finances and debts and loans, you will see that's down to 220 million, looking much better. And this year, we are predicted a better finish than ever. Despite all the sales we've made of key players in our defence, we are now predicted a 4th place finish, 20-1 odds of winning the title. And our best 11 is looking really good at this point. Lots of great players throughout, all of which can get far better than they are right now. But only time will tell if they can actually play to the level that the game predicts. I feel like this team is ready now to start competing in Ligue 1, potentially get closer to PSG, and if not, they've got a big ceiling to get way better yet. But I'm hoping this year could be the one. And well, this season is one that I think will be remembered a long time in the history of Lyon fans. I'm going to be honest with you, the league we did not do as well, but we had our first chance in the Champions League this year, because after a good performance in the league phase, we made it to the knockout playoff round. Up against us was Roma, and we put in a great performance at home, beating them 4-0 and winning the tie 5-2 on aggregate. And that set up our biggest test so far, a round of 16 clash against FC Barcelona. We drew 0-0 at our stadium and then went to Camp Nou. And Barca got off to a flyer after 6 minutes. Araujo powered home from a corner, but we went right up the other end only 2 minutes later, Lambord stepping up and managing to put it past ter Stegen. Barca though used their home dominance to get another goal in front, João Felix being the man to score, before they got another one to extend the lead through Ansu Fati, a fantastic finish. After half time we came back off the other end though, Fofana making it 3-2 with a great strike, but unfortunately it was not to be overall. Despite our fight back to try and make it 3-3. In our aggression to score another, it allowed Maffeo to score and knock us out. But look, it was a good effort and far better than I thought we'd do in the Champions League, but it wasn't the only cup competition where we were doing well. Because in the French Cup, for the first time, we were into the semi-final and there was no PSG left in the competition. Lambourg took his chance against Strasbourg, making it 1, before adding a second late on to finish the game off. And with that, we were heading to a cup final, our first chance of silverware, or at least top level silverware. Because of course we did win the second tier of French football, but winning the French Cup would be so much sweeter. We were playing against Grenoble of all teams and went 1-0 up through Cacare. They'd done well to make it to the final, but we showed our quality on the day. A Naipan free kick, that was enough to win the match, and we went home with our first trophy of the rebuild. The French Cup was ours. Now I said the league wasn't as good. Granted, our actual league performance in terms of points was about as good as it ever has been, but Marseille and Monaco, they had much better years than before. In fact, Monaco really pushed PSG to the limits, only 5 points away from the eventual winners, but it was another great year from us overall as a club, and I cannot complain about how we've done. Some highlights included a great year from Nuama and Cherki, and also our backup goalkeeper, our youngster, Diang, had to play a few times and he did really well with an overall rating of a 7.23. Kumbedi was great, as was Malik Fofana, Abner Vinicius too, and whilst Lambourg wasn't as good as previous seasons, he still scored 22. Amin Sarr chipped in with 14, and it was a great performance from our whole team. Arguably the biggest success though is that Champions League money rolling in and allowing us to have a positive balance of 76 million, which was actually a little bit more, but we paid off a lot of our debt this year, going down to £150 million worth of debt. The club's in a far better position than before, and actually this kind of debt is kind of normal at most top clubs. But despite all of that effort, we are still only going into our final transfer window with £6 million to spend, but to be honest, I think our team is already good enough, so to add any extra quality to it is hopefully going to take us just that extra level. And I think the business that we've done in this final transfer window really sums up everything that we've done well in this rebuild. But before we get into it, this is the last chance I can ask you. If you have enjoyed the video, please smash that like button for me. It gives me lots of support here on YouTube, makes them boost the video more because they see people like it. So thank you to anyone who does that. But let's see what we did. Firstly, Gift Orban leaves the club to join Antwerp out in Belgium. Now this is a player that I think did have a lot of ability, but he just never really kicked on for us, never played too much, mainly because there was better players in front of him, whether it was Mikadatse at the start, Amin Sarr or Lambourg. He's never really had the opportunity, so he's moved on. We say goodbye, 2 million quid for him. And then there's Mikael Damsgaard, who has left the club permanently to sign for Crystal Palace. Played alright for his last year, but wasn't really a key player, only started 3 games, so to get 7 mil off a player we signed for free, I think it makes sense. At the same time, we continue the development of some of our youngsters out on loan. And then coming in, we have added 2 quality players. The first one is Fabio Moretti, the Italian international, 24-year-old, signing from Juventus on a free, having been let go, having not played much in the last few years. And we add to our young attacking forward line with the signing of Rooney Bargi, a 22-year-old Swedish international coming in from Copenhagen, where he's been exceptional. What a signing this is to get on a free. If you look at our transfer business so far in this rebuild, barely any permanent signings that cost real money. Everything was free transfers, only contracts, and I think that's helped us massively. And with all that business done, here is our best 11, our final team of the rebuild. And as you can see, if all of these players were to play on the pitch, you'd have a superb young squad playing for us, and there's plenty of great players on the bench and in the reserves too, many of which we've brought in from our academy. In fact, if we go to squad and then go to, let's say, age actually, you'll see the likes of Petitjean have developed pretty well, but the one I was really excited with, Paulo Sociedad, I think will go on to be one of the best players in Ligue 1. He looks exceptional. Paulo Heis has came along a lot as well as a defensive option. He is definitely going to get minutes. And I do just want to point out the 2 players that we've been given chances to from the start. Bengui Zhao, who is a brilliant goalie now, aged 23, and Kumbedi, who's one of the best right backs I've seen in this game, especially from what he started as, and should definitely be a France international by now. And I can't believe Lambourg isn't either, with how well he's developed. There is an absolutely stacked squad here, plenty of young talent, and now we are going to give it a go. Our final season. Can we topple PSG? Can we win another trophy? Whatever it is, I think this rebuild's already a success, particularly when you see what happened behind the scenes with those finances. And this year, I think there's definitely lots of positives we can take in our 5th and final season. Let's go competition by competition and start with the Champions League, where once again we did well enough in the league phase to make it to a knockout playoff round where we faced up against fellow French side Monaco, smashed them and knocked them out of the competition. Then came our clash in the round of 16, where instead of Barcelona, it was Arsenal. Now their club is probably filled with players that are worth far more than anything that we're paying, but we got off to a great start through an own goal. And realistically in this rebuild, we have probably spent in all our 5 windows what they spent on one player. So to go 2-0 up through Amner Vinicius was incredible, but it got even better in the 83rd minute when Van Hewitt played in a cross. We had Fofana nod it in, and that was 3-0. In the second leg though, a different story. We went to the Emirates, got blasted 6-1, the game finished 6-4 on aggregate, which look, it's not the best result on the night, but overall it shows how far we've come, because like I say, if we have a look at Arsenal's transfer history, no offence to Arsenal, but just in one window on these 2 players, they spent more than we spent in this entire rebuild. When it comes to the league though, we had a great season. 5 years ago, our club was in the 2nd tier, having to sell all our players. Now, for the first time, we were leading against PSG, and despite the fact that PSG managed to score when one of our players went down through an injury, we managed to get a late winner in the 88th minute. That's what they get for showing no sportsmanship at all. Malik Fofana picking up the ball into Ryan Cherki, and it had to be him to score the winner. So we'd finally got one over on PSG, and we actually managed to beat them in the French Cup as well in the quarter-finals, giving us what you would consider a pretty good run to the final itself. But it wasn't an easy competition. The final had us up against Reims, who also would have been looking at this as a winnable trophy, and Marcel Rutti got them off to a flyer in 37 minutes. We managed to hit back from the penalty spot though, 66 minutes on the clock, Cherki banging it home. But despite all our efforts, we managed to give it up late on, Durame finding Braganca a deflected shot, making it 2-1. But we weren't giving in, and as the minutes closed out, Amin Sarr managed to knock it forward to Fofana, who then managed to get in the area, back to Sarr, and score a brilliant team goal to equalise. But in the 90th minute, a set piece from Cherki found Rooney Bargi, who's wrote his name in stardom with a brilliant goal, and that won us our 2nd French Cup in a row and our 2nd piece of major silverware with Lyon. Now as you can see, we also did win the Trophée des Champions, beating PSG in that competition. That's a nice trophy to have after all, but it was Monaco who won the league this year on 91 points. They've been doing really well, but I will definitely take 73 points, a 3rd place finish ahead of rivals Marseille, and getting our best points total yet. And financially, the club is now all sorted. After 5 years, we fixed the issues. There's 94 million in the overall balance. The debts and loans, there's 40 million there, but if the club really wanted to, they could pay that straight off with the overall balance that we've got. We've managed to increase the facilities as well over the last few years. We haven't given up on them. Ernest Nwama is also now a club icon, having had some really consistent seasons behind him, and this year having his best yet. And he was one of many great performers. Sociedade had his first real impact in our team, scoring 4 goals when called upon, 25 from Cherki, Nwama scoring 18, Dayang still looking like a very good young goalie who will go right to the very, very top with our club. Malik Fofana, Rooney Bargi, Matthias Lambord as well. What a player he's been, what a signing for the price we paid for him. This club is on the up. I think we've absolutely smashed it here at Lyon. Hopefully they don't get relegated in real life and all get sorted. I don't want to see any club go that way, but this was a really fun rebuild. So in any situation where Lyon do get relegated to the 2nd tier, they know who they should put in charge.